One of Netflix's most popular shows ever, The Night Agent, just dropped its second season, and I have finally finished binging the entire thing a week later. It's a show that has become one of my favorites in the last couple of years, ever since the first season came out. I, along with so many other people, have come to adore this show, considering it is now one of Netflix's most viewed shows ever, and I think that there is a big reason for that. While this video is not meant to be a breakdown of Season 2 and everything that happened, it's more so going to be an analysis of why the show in its entirety from Season 1 to Season 2 is so popular, at least in my opinion. If you haven't seen the full show, or even Season 2 yet, I may potentially talk spoilers, so you have been warned. And with that being said, I think that that's a perfect way to jump right into talking about Season 2 and giving my thoughts about it, because I'd say overall, Season 2 was just a slight step down from Season 1, although I still enjoyed watching it. Season 2 finds us returning with our main duo, Peter and Rose, to stop another big threat in the US. It's not too dissimilar from what Season 1 did. However, I felt that Season 2, as opposed to Season 1, stretched its plot a little too much. Character motivations are a little more all over the place, and sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief for why certain things happen, which can also add to the stretched plot critique. The ending was also not as satisfying as I hoped it would be, and it kind of ends on a 5 to 10 minute exposition dump that only is there to set up another season. I don't normally do ratings, if at all, for how I grade films and television, but if I was grading both seasons, I'd say that Season 1 was an 8 out of 10 season of television, and then Season 2 is like a 7 out of 10. Because at the end of the day, with someone like me, there is always got to be an entertainment factor included in breaking down what you watch, and for me, I still enjoyed watching the show, even if I had more critiques for the second season. Depending on who you are, I'd also say that the threat of who and what is involved with what Peter and Rose have to stop is not as big as the first season. Season 1 was based on a coup attempt against the current president, and then Season 2 was more of a plot against people in the United Nations. Both can scale each other in terms of how much more important they are than the other, so I kind of felt that I preferred the stakes and the threat level that Season 1 had over Season 2, but I digress. But even with my thoughts about Season 2 aside, I do just want to talk about the show overall and get to the main point of this video. Why exactly is a show like this so popular on Netflix? It may not be of the quality of some of the other more popular shows that Netflix has ever had, but I think that there is an entertainment factor to a show like this that is one of the biggest reasons why people like watching it regardless of the quality. The Night Agent as a whole is a show that I would personally best describe as if you were watching a cable television show that was actually good. You know how you get all those different CSI and FBI-like television shows on cable television nowadays? The Night Agent sometimes feels like it's one of those shows, but at a budget and production that comes off like it's trying to do something good with it. It's not trying to build some kind of universe or anything like that, it's just doing its own thing. It's not generation-defining television either. I'm certainly not sitting here calling The Night Agent a masterpiece, but it's passable enough to where you can get some decent entertainment out of it. I think that also adds to the idea of it being a binge show that elevates why so many people like sitting down to experience it. A binge-worthy show hits the sweet spot because it has a combination of things that make you want to keep going, often sometimes without you even realizing it. It can be because of engaging storytelling, characters, pacing, episodic structure, but then also what binge shows do well with, which is instant gratification. Every now and then, you will just get a binge show that has that magnetic pull where you can become invested in the world, the characters, the story, and before you know it, you are watching several episodes within one sit down. It's kind of like how you describe social media, not the social media that we get nowadays, where I personally say that social media is just not in the best state to where it used to be back in the old days, but it's like social media in the good way, where binge shows represent the good kind of instant gratification for getting something immediately that you'd want to watch and experience. I'm more of a week-to-week kind of person, but if a good binge show hits, then it definitely hits. Again, I know I already said that Season 2 was lesser than Season 1, but there's just something about The Night Agent as a whole that really keeps me into it. It's a political action thriller that is the kind of stuff the film industry has been making for forever now. And sometimes a lot of these different films and television shows centered around these genres can get repetitive and cliche, but The Night Agent is just something I can't quite put my hand to and understand why I'm so invested in it. I guess it might just come down to the fact that people really like these kind of projects that mix those genres together. A show that in many ways is very similar to something like this is Jack Ryan with John Krasinski. That character has been through all forms of media entertainment, but The Jack Ryan version with John Krasinski is a kind of story that is very similar to The Night Agent, and he's a very popular character overall from the Tom Clancy universe, so it all makes sense. I just mentioned it, but I also think that this can come down to the two main leads that we follow in each episode. I really like the characters of Rose and Peter. Both actors, Gabriel Basso and Luciane Buchanan, do a great job playing the parts. Given the circumstances of how these two characters meet each other in Season 1, I really started to feel the connection that they had that was getting built up for when we see them in Season 2. Admittedly, I'm a little confused as to why in Season 2 they don't seem to have the most romantic connection that the end of Season 1 established. At the end of Season 1, they clearly look like they were in love with each other, but in Season 2, I don't feel like they ever had a good amount of time to really sit down with each other and establish where the relationship would go. And in fairness, that's because they were always on their toes, moving around, so I can understand if that was the reason why, but I don't want to see these two split apart. The end of Season 2 establishes quite clearly that there might be a bit of a separation moving forward, depending on what they do in Season 3. Peter is being given another job to investigate his own government for a potential new threat that is taking over at the highest forms of the government powers, like the presidency. And so, I'll be curious to see how much more ingrained he is into the system, especially given he is someone no one might trust. We do see that the character of Chelsea is returning, as she is one of the people on the new president's detail of the Secret Service. So, I'll be happy to see her come back, and hopefully, Season 3 as a whole can give us another great thrill ride. Also, just as a side note, but Gabriel Basso, who plays Peter, is an actor that goes all the way back to my early childhood. For some reason, I had never noticed this, that he is the same person who played the character of Martin in J.J. Abrams' movie Super 8. This is a major throwback for me, as Super 8 was one of the many movies that I always wanted to record to my DVR anytime it came on cable, and he played the character of Martin, who at the time was super skinny, and now look where he's gotten himself. He's playing the character of Peter, leading a political action thriller all jacked up, and that's just really cool to see, in my opinion. Gabriel was also recently in potentially Clint Eastwood's last movie, Juror Number 2, as the guy being charged with murder, which I recommend everyone go watch. That was a decently good movie. But there you have it. That's my analysis of The Night Agent on Netflix, a show that when it first came out, I had no interest in watching. But a recommendation swayed me, and here we are now, and it's one of my favorite shows in the last several years. Essentially, I'm also recommending it as well, just in case you didn't catch my drift about that. They are currently filming Season 3, so hopefully we can get that next year in 2026. What do you all think, though, of the show and my commentary of it? Leave your comments down below, and let's have a nice and respectful conversation about it. I can't ask enough that you be respectful, as I do read all my comments to the best of my ability. Thank you for stopping by my channel. If you want to see more moving forward from me with regards to film and television, and you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you are new here, and turn on that notification bell. I am currently trying to build a community on here, and your support would be appreciated. That's a wrap, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for the next video.